Welcome back to the channel and to another WNBA video. There is a 5-game slate going down Friday, September 13th. Now, typically, if you're new to these videos, I would break down each and every one of those games, talk about which way that I was leaning as far as the points and the spread. I'd also talk about any player props in those games that I found, but I got to switch it up a little bit today, man. It's another one of them days where I just worked entirely too long, got in entirely too late. Had issues at the house when I got in, man. The AC unit's down. But y'all aren't here for all that. You don't care about the personal life, man. You're here for the picks, right? Well, the thing is I don't want to get on here and half-ass things for you guys, just for the sake of getting content out, right? I don't want to give you guys, bullshit picks or analysis. And I have not had enough time to dive into each of those games to give you a full, proper breakdown. So I know there's going to be a couple people in the comments, man. Don't switch it up, man. Don't switch your style up. We like the breakdowns, get back to the breakdowns. Where's the over-under picks? Where's the total? Blah, 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 blah. Man, I get it, and I'm sorry. I really am. That's the method that I prefer. That's what I like to do. That's why I started doing these videos. Just give a good full breakdown of the games and let people kind of take that information and decide from there which way they want to go with it. But like I said, I'm not going to get on here and bullshit you guys. I would never do that. So if I don't have that proper analysis to give you, I'm not going to give it to you. But with that said, I do have a handful of picks that I found looking over things today, basically on the way back from the job site to the shop, man. Had a little bit of time to dive in and look at some things. So we're going to go over those here, and then any plays that I put in officially myself based off of these picks that we do go over, I will list down there in the pinned comment as per usual. So make sure you check back in. That way you can see if you'd like to ride along with me. But before we get into these plays, got to go over what we took yesterday. And there was only one game on the slate yesterday. And you know what? We played a conservative, man. We've been hot, so why blow the whole load on one game, right? When there's 5 games on the on the slate for today. So with that said, took a full game under 178.5 in the New York Liberty and the Dallas Wings, and we do hit on that. Guys, that makes this a 12-1 run that we are on right now in the W. Man, it's hot right now. We got to keep riding that wave as long as we can, man. So, without any further ado, let's dive into these picks for today. I'm still going to be going over it game by game. So the first game that I'm looking at is going to be the Dream and the Mystics. And then we're going to jump right into Outlier for this one, man. If you are not on Outlier, make sure you get into that description or the pinned comment. You'll be able to find a link for Outlier. That way you'll be able to get a free 7-day trial. You can try it out for yourself. And if you like it, man, you can choose after that to hold on to it. And I have a feeling that you will like it. We're going to be going over a lot of things here on Outlier in this video. So you're going to get to see firsthand how it works. But I'm looking at Julie Van Loo on my first pick here. Her 3-pointers over 1.5. She does play for the Mystics. Now, Outlier is amazing, guys. You're going to keep hearing me say that. We can come over here always for every prop, any pick that we look at, and it's going to tell us every sports book that's available on. Right now, this is just on FanDuel and Bet365, but see how the odds are different? This is how it goes, right, in the sports book world. Always different prices on every book. Great thing about Outlier is it's going to break it down for you. It's going to show you exactly where you can find what prop and for what price. And then you can kind of go like, hey, FanDuel's got the better odds, man. I'm going to throw that in on FanDuel, right? Just that way you're getting the best price for whatever prop that you're looking at. So like I said, Julie Van Loo, 3-pointers over 1.5. If we look at her in her last 5 on the road, she's hitting at an 80% rate. Okay, now we can look at her in just her last 5 overall, and she's hit 4 in a row, also 4 for last 5 for an 80% rate. Now, we look at Atlanta against guards for 3-pointers made allowed. They sit at just 9th. So a lot of green on the board, man, and that's what we like to see over here on Outlier. They color code it, and they make it pretty simple for us, man. Green is good, red is bad. So all that green, you got to love it, right? So, looking at Julie Van Loo here, 3-pointers made over 1.5. We can get that on FanDuel at -125. Next up, going to be looking at Brittany Sykes, also of the Mystics. Looking at her assist line under 3.5. Now, this one is juice. We can get this at -150 on Bet365, and you're going to pay a lot more juice anywhere you look. So, that is the best option. But she is hitting this at an 80% rate, 4 of her last 5. And there's a lot of green up here, man. We can just push it back to see how consistent it's been. We're green across the board. Well, not across the board, but we're green across the board as far as, last 10, last 20. She's hit that at a 55% rate. We can look at her head-to-head against this Atlanta Dream team, and she's also hitting that at a 60% rate. 3 of her last 5 times she has hit under this assist total. If we look at this insight from Outlier, she has failed to exceed this 3.5 assist mark in 5 of her last 6 on the road. She did just drop out 7 assists, but that was against the Sky, and they are reeling right now with the injury to Angel Reese and also Diamond DeShields. They are just kind of stretched thin. You can tell by that final score, man. The Mystics won by 31 points and put 89 points up. Played into those 7 assists right there, right? That's a lot of points for a Washington Mystics team, especially. So, like I said, man, she is hitting this at an 83% rate, 5 out of her last 6. And if we look at Atlanta against guards and their assists allowed, they are just middle of the pack, sitting at 6th. And the last prop in this game I'm looking at, it's going to be another 3-pointer prop. Alicia Gray over 1.5 3-pointers. We can get this one on FanDuel at -136. Also available on Bet365 and Underdog right now, but we're going to catch that best price over there at FanDuel. Washington against the 3-pointers, man, they are just 8th overall for 3-pointers made allowed against guards. So not the best look there. And if we hop down here and look at Alicia in her last 5, she is hitting over this 1.5 3-pointer made mark at a 60% rate, hitting 3 of her last 5. Now, if we push this back a little bit further to her last 10, the numbers go up, man. It actually looks even better. She's hitting that at an 80% rate, hitting at 8 of her last 10 attempts. And that one recently here against the Minnesota Lynx and that good perimeter defense. This one is a little more surprising coming against Phoenix, but however, Phoenix has played better on the defensive end since the Olympic break. Actually, much better on the defensive end than they played throughout the course of the season. It's the offensive end that Phoenix is struggling on. So, like I said, man, these two that have gone under in the last 10 games were, against a really good defense and then a surging defense. And then otherwise, she's clearing this number with ease. So you got to like this one here. Alicia Gray, -136. We can get this, like I said, on FanDuel. 3-pointers over 1.5 made. Next up, we're looking at the Las Vegas Aces taking on the Indiana Fever. First prop I'm going to be looking at in that one is going to be Kelsey Mitchell. Looking at her in the first quarter, her points over 5.5. Now, we can only get this on FanDuel. We can get it at plus money for plus 100 odds here. I love that. Now, the Aces against guards for points allowed, they sit at just 7th. Now, in her last 5, she has smacked over this number at an 80% rate. We push that back to the last 10, still hitting at an 80% rate. Now, she did just finish under that mark against the Aces a couple days ago, right? Hitting at 5, just coming below that 5.5 point mark. If we look at Kelsey Mitchell in her last 8 games at home, we can exclude that one that we just talked about, and she's hit at a 7 or an 88% rate, right? 7 in a row leading up to this game here that we just spoke of. Now, another thing that you got to like here, let me go back up here, look at her last 10 just overall. She plays every minute of the first quarter, guys. This 10-minute quarter is in the WNBA, so she's playing every single minute of that first quarter. She is, Caitlin Clark is the one that, gets the love in the media. This is who we hear about the most. But Kelsey, in my opinion, is their go-to scorer. That's like the number one scoring option. Caitlin, she's obviously can put the ball through the bucket, but she's the point man. She looks to facilitate the ball a lot more, and she's damn good there, right? Kelsey Mitchell is trying to shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and score on you left and right, and to a lot of success, man. Like I said, we see a lot of green down here, but I really like the fact that she plays the entire quarter and she is shot happy, and those shots typically be falling. So I like this one here. I like it a lot, man. I could definitely see this one ended up being a final play, especially being able to get it at plus money like that. The next play I'm going to be looking at is going to be the full game under 177. Like I said, that's going to be between the Aces and the Fever. If we look in the last 10, man, the Aces have hit under this mark. Let's look at them away. On the road, they've hit under this mark at a 90% rate, right? The Fever at home, it's 50-50. But if we push it back to the last 20, the Fever at home, they're smacking under this number at a 70% rate. The Aces on the road, smacking under this number at a 75% rate. Look, man, I like this under right here. I feel like this is going to be another defensive game between these two where, the Aces, their offense really has not been rolling. It's starting to get back on track, right? And I think the return of Asia Wilson should definitely help that. She was out just that one game, but just they were kind of in a rut leading up to that, and definitely bounced back in the last few games. I feel like they've looked a lot better on offense, but still a lot of room for improvement. The defensive end, they have looked a lot better than they did at the beginning of the season. It's almost like they flip flopped, man, where they were really inconsistent on defense, and offense they could just light it up right at a given notice. Somehow this has seemed swapped where, yeah, it's like they're kind of lighting it up on the defensive end. They're really getting stops and hammering down over there, and they're just really hella inconsistent on the offensive end. And I know, man, it's scary to fade the fever, especially at home. So this one feels a little bit riskier, but at minus 108 odds, we're almost close to even money here. I don't know, man. I kind of like my chances here. And the data does back it up. So next up, going to be looking at Jackie Young. Her points under 13.5. Jackie Young does play for the Aces. Just for the record, she is hitting under this mark at an 80% rate in her last 5 games. And if we push it back just a little further to those last 10, still hitting under this number at a 70% rate. So still a lot more green down there than red. And if we look at this insight from Outlier, she has failed to exceed that 13.5 point mark in 7 of her last 8 games on the road. That's an 88% hit rate to the under. She's actually averaging just 8.6 points per game in those last 8 games on the road. Now, the scary part of this, Indiana against guards is last for points allowed, right? Dead last. But we look at that last meeting between these two, and Jackie still only put up 6. So let's look at her head-to-head against the Fever on the year. Like I said, it is a little scary, but here lately she has been kind of slumping on the offensive end. So I think we kind of got to look past this here a little bit and look more at these last 5, these last 10. Like I said, 80% rate over the last 5, 70% rate over the last 10. And look at these, a handful of these just way under 2 points, 2 points, 6 points. I mean, it's baffling to me, honestly, the kind of rut she's fallen into offensively, because you watch her play, man, and Jackie Young gets down. Like she is a baller, but just kind of in a rut offensively. So kind of like this under 13.5. I feel like it's a good time. Let's just keep, like I said earlier in the video, we're gonna keep riding the wave, right? Right now Jackie Young's not scoring. Maybe we just keep riding that wave. Next up, looking at a prop from the Storm and the Wings game, looking at Ezi Magbagor of Seattle. Her points over 11.5. We can get this at FanDuel right now, minus 106 odds. In her last 5, a 60% hit rate to the over, hitting out 3 out of 5 in her last 5 games. If we look at this insight from Outlier, right, she has averaged, look, just at that 11.5 point mark in 4 of her last 5 games on the road, but she has hit over that, right? Now she's averaging just at that 11.5 point mark because of this little 4-point game right here that's kind of like deflating the numbers down, not inflating, right? But still hitting at an 80% rate, like I said, in her last 4. Let's look at her head-to-head against the Wings. Man, that's pretty, right? A lot of green down there. Whole lot of green. And if we look at her over the course of the year, hitting at a 58% rate, we whatever. And then looking at the Wings for points allowed, dead last in the WNBA. If we look at her or them against forwards, dead last in the WNBA. As he plays the forward, she plays the center position. So if we look at centers, second to last in the WNBA. So you got to like your chances here with Ezi cashing over 11.5 points. She can score. She can score well, man. And when she gets hot, she just kind of keeps rolling, and Seattle will keep feeding her the ball. So I do like our chances here against this just horrid Dallas defense. And then we could also look at Ezi and her rebounds if we wanted to take a look. However, I would probably look to fade her, man, on the rebounds. We cashed on this the other day. We cashed on the hook. She landed right at 7. So we just got that mark, right? But we can get this at plus money right now. And, of all the things that Dallas does decently, they do rebound the ball well, right? And against centers, they are middle of the pack for rebounds allowed. Against forwards, they are actually second. We like that green right there, right? We look at her in her last 5. She's hitting under this mark at an 80% rate. push it back to her last 10, still at a 70% rate, 7 out of her last 10. We can go back even further to her last 20. She's hit 13 of those 20 times for a 65% rate. And if we look at this insight from Outlier, when she's playing against these top 5 defenses for rebounds allowed, she's actually averaging just 5.2 boards in her last 5. Um, Clearing this under at a 100% rate in the last 5 games. That's, like I said, against teams with top 5 defenses for rebounds allowed. That's where Dallas sits, man, sitting right at 3rd. Next up, we're diving into that Chicago Sky Minnesota Lynx game. Looking at Alana Smith, her points over 8.5. Now, if we can catch this right now on FanDuel, minus 114 odds. If we look at her in her last 5, not the best, hitting at a 40% rate, right? Look at her in her last 10, still only a 50% rate. Now, if we push it back further to her last 20, we now are above 50%, only at 55%. So, Trey, why do you like this? Well, let's look at her head-to-head. On the year, just one game against Chicago, she's cleared this number, okay, at 11 points. So we like that. Now, let's look at this insight from Outlier. She has exceeded this number in 4 of her last 5 games at home by 3 points on average, man. 11.6 average in those games at home, hitting at a 4 out of 5 rate, 80%. So I like that one here. And if we look at Chicago, their defense against centers for points allowed, they sit at just 9th. So not the best look there for Chicago. It's a good look for us here with this pick. And you got to take in consideration, man, there's no longer Reese and Cardoso down below. It's just Cardoso. And Alana likes to drift out to the perimeter as it is. So I feel a lot of, a lot of spacing on the Minnesota side. I see her getting freed up on the perimeter quite often. And making the most of it, man, against the Chicago defense that I feel like they're going to be reeling without Reese. So far that's what we've seen. Her absence has been missed, and it has shown. The 2 wins that we've seen for the Sky have come against the Sparks and the Wings. So it's not like it's anything too impressive or anything to write home about. I'm also looking at Kennedy Carter of the Sky. Her rebounds over 3.5. We can catch this one on FanDuel at minus 128. If we look at Minnesota, the rebounds allowed, they sit at just 9th. And against guards, also 9th. If we look at Kennedy in her last 5, she has hit this over at an 80% rate. All right, we can just keep going back further, guys, and the consistency is there. She's hit at a 70% rate in her last 10, hit at a 65% rate in her last 20. That's 13 out of 20 times. If we look at her head-to-head, she's also cleared this number in the 1 game against the Lynx, sitting at 4. Just got over that 3.5 point mark, or 3.5 rebound mark, but she did indeed get over it, right? And then we look at this insight from Outlier. She has exceeded that 3.5 rebounds mark in 7 of her last 8 games, averaging 5 rebounds per game for an 88% hit rate in the last 8. So that's Kennedy Carter, her rebounds over 3.5. Sam, we're looking at it's going to be the Connecticut Sun and the Phoenix Mercury. Now, before I dive into this pick right here, you guys already know that I try to find me a Marina Mabry player prop, right? Look, we come over here to the offensive side. We got DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, Tajani Carrington. We can just keep going down the list, right? Man, where's Marina? There's no player props available for Marina Mabry. All right. So the sports books have caught on, man. We cashed too many of the overs, right? She was kind of a cash cow there for a minute for us with those points in the over mark, right? I think I hit like 3 or maybe 4 in a row before we finally came under that number. And now, poof, that prop has just disappeared. It's no longer available. So, it's a little comical, man. It tends to be how it goes, right? Any kind of value in there, that thing's going to disappear after a certain amount of time, or it's going to be super juiced, right? This one's just gone. Looking at the Mercury, though, their team total under 76.5. Also on FanDuel, man, FanDuel's been killing it with the WNBA lately with the best odds, minus 115. But you can also get this for the same price at ESPN Bet right now as well. But look, in their last 10, only 50% rate, right? But Phoenix has struggled as of late on the offensive end. They are hitting this under at a 3 out of 5 rate in their last 5 for a 60% rate, right? But the thing is here, let's look at them head-to-head against the Sun. Now, the 3 on the year, they're coming in under this mark on all 3 of those. And then 5 out of 6 just overall dating back to last year as well for an 83% hit rate to the under. Man, look at this here. 47 points that Connecticut held them to at the beginning of the season. So we know Connecticut's got a stellar defense, right? We look over here, Connecticut's points defense, it's first allowed, or first overall for points allowed in the W, giving up just under 74 points per game. And we also know that Phoenix has been slumping on the offensive end. So the Mercury, their points under 76.5 against this Connecticut defense, where they haven't scored more than 72 points on the year. I like our chances here. And the last prop that I'm looking at, that I'm going to be checking out, is going to be Dewana Bonner, her points under 14.5. Also on FanDuel, wouldn't you know it, man? Minus 114, best odds on all the books available. If we look at the Mercury, their points allowed, just 6, middle of the pack for forwards, okay? And if we look at Dewana in her last 5, she's hit under this mark at an 80% rate. And if we look at her in her last 10, she's hit this at a 70% rate, hitting to the under, averaging 12.2 points per game, coming underneath that 14.5 by a couple buckets or by a couple points. Dewana Bonner has failed to exceed that 14.5 point mark in 5 of her last 6 games on the road as well, averaging just 11.3 points per game in those, hitting the under at a 83% mark in these 6 games. If you guys enjoyed the content today, you found it helpful or useful in any kind of way, please do not forget to smash the like button down below. It is definitely helpful, and we appreciate it over here at the Guy Boston Sports channel. And speaking of the channel, if you have not subscribed yet, man, please do not miss out. Please subscribe now. That way you don't miss any of the content that we do drop here daily. Coming with MLB content, WNBA still, while those seasons are still in full swing. We're going to be running through the playoffs as well as the NFL, man. Now it's back in action. All 3 of us are dropping NFL videos weekly. And then Tassos is knocking out the college football as well. So plenty of content to come your way every single day. Best thing, it's all free, man. We never charge for any picks around here. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell. That way you get notified every single time we drop something. And that's going to do it, guys. I hope to see you on the next video. Hopefully we keep this run going, 12-1 so far. Man, let's keep it going into today, through the weekend. Let's just keep cashing, man, stacking up on these units. I'll see you guys on the next video.